Hi, friends. Happy, what is today? Thursday? Is today Thursday? Somebody let me know. I think it's Thursday. Yeah, I missed yesterday. I missed you guys. I'm sorry. I woke up with a splitting headache and it stayed there the vast majority of the day. and, yeah, wasn't good times yesterday. But today I feel much better. Headache is gone. So, hi, friends. Hey, Sherry. Hi, hi. Hi, the other Sherry. Hello. I missed you too. Hey, Henny. Good to see you. Hey, Cherie. Thanks for leaving your DNA. I appreciate that. Hey, Miss Margaret. You're in the right place, ma'am. Hey, Miss King. Hello. Hello, sweet Laura. Ooh, look at your pretty profile picture. Ma'am. You beautimous. Who else do we have? We have Miss Morgana Banana. Morgana. All right, you guys. So, has anybody been seeing all of the latest headlines lately? Seriously, have you seen what is going on in crime as of late? Like, there's things going on with all the people. Lori Vallow, Bryan Kohberger, even Casey Anthony. Oh, there was 2 arrests in the Kansas City Chief. You guys remember the Kansas City 3, the 3 guys that were found frozen to death outside of their friend's house? Remember that story? You've been avoiding the news? Well, I avoid news. But as far as true crime stuff, no, I don't avoid that. I avoid all other types of news, though. And I've got to catch up on that. I need somebody to give me the lowdown on the Karen Reed situation because I've not been watching that. I have not been watching it. Have not. So, let me get all my child's mathy things out of the way. We got a pencil, got a highlighter, got a purple crayon, got some blocks, got her math paper. Sharing a desk with a 5-year-old. Cherie says, I totally remember that story. Something just didn't seem right to me about that case. Yeah, no. But, we are going to get started. I'm kind of going to jump around from one story to the next. So today's going to be a little bit of a shorter-ish day. This thing is crazy pants. Let's see. Morgana says it's a whole hot mess, Miss King. Brennan wears on me big time. What are your thoughts? I would love to hear. I would love to hear. I would love to hear. Okay. So the very first thing that I wanted to talk about was the Kansas City 3 because it's been over a year now and we never really heard anything about that situation. And lo and behold, it looks like yesterday, I think it was yesterday, they made an arrest. Two arrests. Hold on just a second. Let me get here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let me share my screen with you guys. Is this the right one? Yes, I do believe so. Bum, ba, da, dun, dun. All right. This is hold on a second. This is channel, what channel is this? Fox 4 News. I'm assuming it's a local spot. But we're going to watch this. It's just a little blip. And then I want to share the little bit of a presser conference that we got that they shared, explaining what happened and why these two guys are charged. So
tonight, 2 men now face charges in Platte County in the deaths of 3 men found frozen behind a Northland home more than a year ago. I'm John Holt.
I'm Lauren Halifax. They were at a friend's house to watch a Chiefs game.
You guys remember this, right? You guys put a 1 in the chat if you remember this story. We were all like, what happened? How do you just sit outside in somebody's backyard and just freeze it? How do you just sit there and freeze to death? How does that even happen? Right? How does that even happen? And you guys remember too, one of the girlfriends had been calling the friends. And so Laura, there were 3 friends that went to a Kansas City Chiefs game watch, to watch it with their buddies. And after the night was over and the next day, they still weren't home. One of the girlfriends starts calling and flipping out and messaging and texting, and she can't get through to nobody. She ends up going to this dude's house where he was supposed to be going to watch. Her boyfriend was supposed to be going to watch the game at the friend's house and can't get no answer. The cars are all there in the driveway. And we'll talk about Kohberger here momentarily, Laura. And she breaks into that man's house. And when she looks out the back door, she sees them, at least 1 or 2 of the men sitting slumped over in chairs, frozen to death. And then the third one was like laid out in a flower bed or something. I don't even remember. Awful. Okay. So she calls the cops come, and when the cops peck on the front door, they said that the owner of the house, or the guy was renting the house, but the friend, the house that they went to watch the game at, come to the front door and he's like boxers and a glass of wine or something, but hadn't been answering his phone. And like her, when she would like text him and say, I need to know where they're at. Were they there? Can you call me? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. It would show as red, you know. She would get the red receipts, but he wasn't replying. So they give just a little bitty brief backstory here.
One friend is one of the 2 men charged. Fox 4's Malik Jackson has been on the story since it broke. He's in Platte City tonight. Malik, any response from the victims' families?
Yeah, I've spoken with several members of these men's families, and they tell me this is a huge relief off of their shoulder, huge weight off of their shoulder, more than a year after this all transpired right here in Platte County. We do now know that 2 men, Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson, have been charged, each with 2 counts of distribution of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
Jordan Willis was the friend. And if for those that do remember this story, I had forgotten about this, but remember we're all like speculating, like, did he make this like drug concoction up because he was a supposed scientist? Come to find out, he didn't, but he did buy it from the other guy that is charged. So, yeah, there's that.
in the deaths of Ricky Johnson, Clayton McGinney, and David Harrington.
Today's charges are the product of hard work.
That's the friend on the right. This is the Jordan Willis dude. He's the guy that they were friends with. They were at his house when all this stuff went down.
Of Kansas City detectives and prosecutors over those many months.
Well, I love this picture of them. This is the three of the guys that died.
14 months after this case got national attention, it's now one step closer to its conclusion. On Wednesday, the Platte County...
So we're going to watch this here in a few minutes, this little press conference. I think the press conference is only like 6 minutes long. This is another good photo, still photo of them. It's so sad. Super sad. I can't remember which one of them had the girlfriend that busted in to find them.
Of Clayton McGinney,
I don't
Ricky
remember.
Johnson, and David Harrington.
Members of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department do not give up on these investigations. While this happened a year ago, our detectives continue to work on this case to get it to the point that we're at today.
The state says the three men gathered together with friends at Harrington's home.
This is the house where it
And the
happened.
party moved to Willis's home, where drugs, including...
And they were found right in that backyard behind this fence. She broke in. I think she went around to the other side of the house, this side over here, and found one of those like low like basement windows and slid into that window down into the basement, went upstairs to the sliding glass door at the back or the patio door or something, and that's where she found the guys.
Cocaine, fentanyl, and marijuana were used. The men were not heard from for almost 2 days until McGinney's fiance arrived at Willis's home, where she discovered one body and called the police. The other two bodies were later found, all three outside in the backyard of the home Willis was renting. Both men now face up to 50 years behind bars if convicted in this case.
This case is a tragic reminder of the dangers of street drugs. But make no mistake, the people who supply those drugs can and will be held accountable.
In a statement, the father of Ricky Johnson, Rick Johnson, tells me, "I am happy with the Platte County Prosecutor's Office and the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department for filing these charges. It's been a long time, and I'll be at every court date." We also reached out to Willis's attorney, John Percerno, who...
Now listen to this. This lawyer, the Jordan, yes, Chrissy, there were 2 arrests yesterday. Hi, Chrissy, by the way, there were 2 arrests yesterday. The Jordan Willis, the house where they were at whenever the boys died there at his house, he's one of the ones that were arrested. I never bought the story where he was passed out for like 48 hours. I've never bought that. No. Anyway.
Who has not shied away from the camera for a response to these charges after saying multiple times that his client would not be charged, and we haven't heard back by the time of this report.
Yeah. So the Jordan Willis's attorney kept saying, "Oh, he won't be charged. We know for a fact he won't be charged with any sort of crimes." Boom. He's charged. He's charged. All right, so I have the other, hold on just a second. Let me pull it up. Where is it? Where is it? Where did you go? I've got 50 million tabs pulled up here. I've been doing some digging today. Okay, let me share this tab and then we'll watch real quick. Like I said, this is only like 6 minutes long. But But 2 men charged in connection with deaths of the 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans in January 2024. What were their charges? I forget what they said. Involuntary manslaughter and the other one was it was a drug related charge. I can't remember exactly. But yeah. So I'm going to hit the play button and we'll hear all of it here in this press conference. So this is the prosecuting attorney.
I am prosecuting attorney Eric Zahn. With me is Kansas City Police Chief Stacy Graves, Deputy Chief Doug Niemeyer, Detective Philip Sipple, and Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Colin Van Ostern. We're here today to announce charges against 2 men for drug distribution and manslaughter in the deaths of Clayton McGeeney,
Drug distribution.
David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson. These 3 men were found dead outside a Platte County home on January 9, 2024. Today, Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson have been charged with distribution of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter. This case has received considerable attention from the media, and I think some people seem to believe that charges may never be brought in this case. People may have doubted this investigation because it has spanned more than a year. But understand this, the Kansas City Police Department and my office do not rest on homicide cases until we have exhausted every possible resource to bring anybody we believe responsible to justice. Today's charges are the product of hard work of Kansas City detectives and prosecutors over those many months. Let me summarize the probable cause statement in this case, and we will have copies of the charging documents, including the entire probable cause statement for you.
Also, I do want to say that, there was a lot of speculation early on in the case, in this situation, about whether the 3 boys willingly took the substances, and it's obvious based on what he's going to say that they did willingly take said substances. And I know that there's a lot of people who say, or a lot of people who may think that these 2 guys shouldn't be charged with these charges, I mean, you hear a lot of people say, oh, well, they're adults. These adults made decisions. You play stupid games, get stupid prizes, And I understand where they're coming from. But coming from someone who has had not 1 but 2 nephews pass away from an overdose, I'm here for it. I'm like, just lock them up, throw away the key. As far as the dealings go. Because, yeah, those... until, more and more and more people are put in for distributing, put in jail for distributing, sorry, I'm putting lotion on my hands, then, they're going to keep on doing it. They're going to keep on doing it till they get caught and get thrown in jail for it. And that's all I got to say about it. Hey, Courtney. Hello and welcome, ma'am.
After our statements here. As I've mentioned, Clayton McGeeney, David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson were found dead outside defendant Jordan Willis's home in the 5200 block of Northwest 83rd Terrace in the Platte County portion of Kansas City on January 9. Mr. McGeeney's fiance told police that Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson had gone to Mr. Willis's home to watch the Kansas City Chiefs football game on January 7th. When she could not contact Mr. McGeeney, she went back to the home on January 9th and found at least one person dead on the back patio. Temperatures had dropped below freezing the night of the Chiefs game. Officers with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department responded to that scene and found Mr. McGinney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson's bodies in the backyard of the home. Detectives then obtained consent to search the home. They found 2 plastic bags containing white powdery substances. The bags were tested by the Kansas City, Missouri Police Crime Laboratory. One of those bags contained cocaine, and the probable cause statement alleges that Mr. Willis was determined to be the major contributor of DNA found on that bag. The other bag contained fentanyl, and the probable cause statement alleges that Mr. Carson was determined to be the major contributor of DNA on that bag. The probable cause statement also recounts the statement of a witness who said he was at Mr. Harrington's home with Mr. Harrington, Mr. McGinney, Mr. Johnson, and the defendant, Mr. Willis, the night of the football game, where he saw a large plate of cocaine allegedly supplied by Mr. Willis that everyone was using. The witness said Mr. McGinney, Mr. Harrington, Mr. Johnson were going to Mr. Willis's home after the football game. Another witness said he was with Mr. McGinney, Mr. Harrington, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Willis at Willis's home later that night on January 7th.
Can I just say, though, a large plate? Wow. That had to have been a butt ton, right? I mean, I don't know. Don't look at me. I'd have no clue. Half of the substances that are out there, I don't know if you smoke them, snort them, shoot them, eat them. I have no idea what you do with 99. Now I know what you do with Coke, right, obviously. But, I mean, a large plate? Daggone.
Where they drank, smoked marijuana, and used cocaine. That witness left shortly before midnight. Data recovered from Mr. Harrington's phone allegedly contains text messages between Mr. Harrington, Mr. McGinney, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Willis, the defendant, Mr. Carson, and others consistent with the purchase and use of cocaine. The messages allegedly indicate that Mr. Carson supplied Mr. Harrington with cocaine. A doctor with Forensic Medical of Kansas found that Mr. McGinney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson all died of fentanyl and cocaine combined toxicity. Mr. Willis and Mr. Carson are both charged with a single count of delivery of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter for recklessly causing the deaths of Mr. McGinney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson. Each of those charges carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Mr. Carson is in the Platte County Jail in lieu of a $100,000 cash bond. We have been told that Mr. Willis is going to surrender himself on the warrant issued for his arrest and that he will post a $100,000 cash bond. This case is a tragic reminder of the dangers of street drugs. But make no mistake, the people who supply those drugs can and will be held accountable when people overdose. I again want to thank the men and women of the Kansas City Police Department for their tireless work on this case, as well as
good job, folks.
Mr. Van Osteren standing here with me, and First Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Mark Gibson. All of these folks were intimately involved in this investigation from day one. I should caution you that the charges against Mr. Willis and Mr. Carson are merely accusations, and they are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Let me turn things over now to Chief Graves for a few additional comments.
The charges here today are a message for not only those who are grieving the lives of their loved ones who were lost to, in this case, to fentanyl, to know that the members of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department do not give up on these investigations. While this happened a year ago, our detectives continue to work on this case to get it to the point that we're at today, where charges are filed. In addition to that, this is a message to those that are bringing fentanyl into our communities, providing it to people, harming our community, that you will be held accountable, you will be arrested, and you will be charged.
She meant business. She meant business. Morgana, real quick, if you're still here, that case that you mentioned earlier today, is it that house fire homicide trial you were talking about? If so, I haven't looked at that at all yet. Anyway, I'm eager to see what happens with this case with the Kansas City Chiefs fans, because, there was a lot of chatter about whether or not the Jordan Willis dude was going to get in trouble for this. And also, I think right after it happened, the Jordan Willis checked himself into mental health facility. And so yeah. I don't know. Laura says, why would one do both at the same time? I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe somebody else can clarify. I have no idea why anyone would do that. Wing Baby, hey, good to see you. She said, I hate that guy's shocked face. I wish he would get a new thumbnail. Who are you talking about? Oh, Pascal? I love him. Okay. Pascal. Steph says, I'm a catch up. I swear it. Sure you will. That'll be the day, ma'am. Okay, so I do too, but I hate the thumbnail. I know. All right. So we're gonna transition on into Kohberger. Let me go grab the one that I want. Mega Jenny face right now. Let me go grab the. Where are you? Let me refresh this page and see if there's anything that comes up here, because I was checking in a few different spots. Okay, I don't see anything, so I'm going to have to go to the Court TV's website, which is fine. I'm just going to have to watch for commercials because they haven't uploaded this video onto their YouTube yet. So, which is fine. It's fine. Hey, Henny, did I say hey to you? Hey, Spins, good to see you, friendy friend. All right, here's the one that I want. Is the one that I want. Honey. All right, now I'm going to make this bigger. And then I'm going to scroll it back. Let me turn the volume down because it's loud and obnoxious. So, what's going on with Bryan Kohberger, you ask? If you haven't already seen a lot of the headlines so far, apparently we are just now learning. I don't know how long they've known, but we are just now learning that there is a mixture of 3 DNA profiles that was found underneath Maddie Mogans in Idaho 4 under her fingernails. Now they're saying they're inconclusive. Or what is it they say when they can't get a verified match? But I have questions. Hey, Spins, member for 7 months. Oh my gosh, look at that. Membership milestone chats. I love them. Hold on, I'm going to give you some sparkle, man. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Yes, baby. All right. Shoot, sometimes it is for me too, Chrissy. She said, I initially liked Pascal and I don't have anything against him. I think he's pretty ethical. He just dilly-dallies so much. It's often 40 minutes before he finally starts. Me too, though. I can't say nothing. I'm a jibber-jabber. Well, Miss King, they're not saying that it's his. They have, from what I'm gathering, we're gonna check it out together because I haven't seen all of it. But I think that they're saying it's inconclusive. They can't say for sure whether, because they said there were 3 DNA profiles under her fingernails. And that none of them were conclusive as to anyone that they've been looking at, including Bryan Kohberger. So they can't say yes, it's his, and they can't say no, it's not his, apparently. I've heard that, but have not seen it. Okay. So let's see. I watched just some headline stuff earlier, like 2-minute clips, and there wasn't really a whole lot. But I know that Vinny does this video, and I kind of want to see what he has to say about it. Y'all know I love me some Vinny Politan. I love him. I love him so much.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation, the horrific, unprovoked, cold-blooded murders of 4 innocent students at the University of Idaho. It's the biggest true crime case in America.
Oh, you guys can't even see it. Daggone it. Shoot. Hold on. Daggone it. I was sitting here.
On November 13th.
Dang. I was sitting here playing it and listening to it. And then all of a sudden I look and you guys aren't even seeing it. Okay. Now we'll start.
I'm Vinny Politan.
So sorry.
The subject of my investigation, the horrific, unprovoked, cold-blooded murders of 4 innocent students at the University of Idaho. It's the biggest true crime case in America and the biggest trial on our docket at Court TV. Here's the story. On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, were brutally stabbed to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. The shocking crime left the college town in fear as authorities searched for the killer. After weeks of investigation, police arrested the suspect, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University. This suspect was linked to the crime through DNA evidence found on a knife sheet at the scene, cell phone records, and surveillance footage of his white Hyundai Elantra near the victim's home.
Oh my
Prosecutors
God.
believe the suspect planned the attack, although the motive remains unclear.
I'm showing
He's been charged with 4 counts of first degree.
You can hear it, but you can't see it. Are you for real? I'm sitting here laughing because Steph's like, I'm behind. Let's see if we can confuse Jenny. And I thought that you guys were pulling my leg. I hate my life right now. I hate it here. Well, why is the video not showing? I've got it. It's on my screen. Let me remove it. Can you see it now? Nope, it's not popping up. What the world? What in the world? Okay, let me stop sharing it again. Why is it being such a wonk butt? Add. Hold on, I have my... It's still not popping up. What in the name of all that is Vinipolitan? Let me look. They did make some changes. They've made some updatey things. Does that do anything? Oh, see, now why does that work? This is so stupid. Okay. Apparently, they've made some kind of changes to StreamYard. They've made some kind of like new little function feature thing that's in beta. And I'm telling you, I think when they did that, they screwed stuff up. Can we just get out of the bed? Can we go back to bed and get out on the other side? Because now y'all's StreamYard's getting on all of my nerves. Every last one of them. Okay. I'm so sorry. Let's try this again. Now I'm going to rewind it. God. Third time's a charm, right? Okay.
I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation, the horrific, unprovoked, cold-blooded murders of 4 innocent students at the University of Idaho. It's the biggest true crime case in America and the biggest trial on our docket at Court TV. Here's the story. On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, were brutally stabbed to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. The shocking crime left the college town in fear as authorities searched for the killer. After weeks of investigation, police arrested the suspect, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University. This suspect was linked to the crime through DNA evidence found on a knife sheath at the scene, cell phone records, and surveillance footage of his white Hyundai Elantra near the victim's home. Prosecutors believe the suspect planned the attack, although the motive remains unclear. He's been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary and maintains his innocence. Both sides now are preparing for the trial, and more information is being made public about the evidence and circumstances.
Even if you don't think he did it, he's still creepy, in my opinion.
Circumstances surrounding this tragedy. Now, one thing that you know about this case through the years, as we've been covering it, and other people have been covering it as well, so a lot of the information coming out is very limited about the evidence in the case. We got some early on with the arrest warrant, but since then, you know, we've gotten little pieces from court hearings, and then when either of the parties file motions, sometimes there's information in there that's new information. Well, right now, we've got some of that new information, and this comes from a defense filing, right? So it's the suspect's attorneys who are filing this and making this information now public because they're looking for some relief.
So whenever they drop a little bit of information like that, I'm always like waiting for more stuff to drop. You know what I mean? Just goes to show that we know this much of what they have on this case. I cannot wait for the trial.
It's a motion to eliminate. They're trying to limit some of the evidence coming in. In grand jury testimony, Jade Miller testified as to the results of testing done on item Q13.1, a swab of the left fingernail clippings from Madison Mogan, one of the victims in this case. The data consisted of a 3-person mixture
Okay.
in the fingernails of Maddie. 3-person mixture. So now we've got DNA from different sources, which brings us to the first question in our investigation. And it's all about this DNA. What does this DNA prove? What does it show? What does it demonstrate? Got to get to the bottom of this. Joining me, former homicide detective, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough.
I love Chris
Chris McDonough is with us. And laboratory director for Pure Gold Forensics. She has more than 20 years of experience in DNA analysis.
What I'm thinking is, I think what I heard them say earlier in, I can't remember where, because I was like clicking on everything about Bryan Kohberger this morning. And from what I think that they're doing, the defense is the one that brought this up. They wanted the motion to, I think, dismiss this evidence because they say that it could be prejudice against Bryan Kohberger because they can't rule him out, but they also can't rule him in, like I said a while ago. So, you know, they're like, well, if they can't say that it's definitely his, then we don't even need to be talking about this DNA. You know. And people were saying, well, look, Maddie had been to a party. She had been to the food truck. She had been, you know, several different places before she even gets back home. So that could be one of anybody's combinations of DNA, you know? Who's to say that it has to have been Bryan Kohberger's, or whoever the actual murderer is, if it's not Bryan Kohberger. But what I want to know is, when you have mixtures of DNA like that, when they swab those nail clippings, they're getting the most recent touch DNA, not touch DNA, but the most recent DNA from the most recent sources they've been in contact with, right? I don't know, Laura. They haven't, as far as I know, they haven't said anything yet. They've only brought this up about Maddie Mogan. So, yeah, I don't know.
Forensic DNA
But Chris McDonough is super duper smart. I can't wait to see what he has to say.
expert joining us from a lab where she works, Susanna Ryan. Great to have you both here. Susanna, I want to begin with you. 3-person mixture. What does that mean? What are the challenges? What are the limitations? What can you get when you have a sample that is a 3-person mixture?
A lot of that's going to depend upon the quality of the mixture. So it sounds like, you know, we have Madison's DNA, which is not surprising, and then at least 2 other contributors. Now, looking at this motion, the fact that multiple individuals were listed as sort of inconclusive tells me there's probably not a whole lot of data available for comparison. So it's probably a low-level mixture. Now, that could mean that the DNA arrived just through casual contact. As a person goes about their day, they can pick up DNA under their fingernails or on their fingernails, or it could mean something more.
I want to go to more information that we have from this motion, which I think will explain a little bit here. The data from that sample was, and then they redact the word, as to the suspect, the accused killer. Miller testified that the redacted word there, we think this is the redacted word, inconclusive, right? So they say in the next sentence that Miller testified that inconclusive means that an analyst is blank, again, redacted. I'm taking from that the redacted word may very well be inconclusive. Miller went on to explain that the likelihood ratio for the suspect, and then that's redacted. The suspect's inconclusive LR likelihood ratio is similar to almost every other person for whom an LR was generated, and focusing on his inconclusive likelihood ratio would mislead the jury, in that it applies that LR means that the suspect's DNA might be present in the sample. More importantly, the suspect has disclosed that through further independent lab testing, he is eliminated as a contributor to item 13.1. Okay, Suzanne, a couple more questions to you, then I want to get to Chris. So the LR, the likelihood ratio.
So wait a minute. If it says inconclusive, how can his defense come and say, wait, let me go back and look at that. Hold on a minute.
What is that? What's the significance of that?
That is the way that we do statistics currently. And it is basically a comparison of
that. What's the significance of that? Item 13.1. Okay, Suzanne, a couple more questions to you. DNA might be present in the sample. More importantly, the suspect has disclosed that through further independent lab testing, he is eliminated as a contributor.
So if they're saying that it's inconclusive, how can, when it says Mr. Kohberger, they mean his defense team, has disclosed that through further independent lab testing, he is eliminated as a contributor? See, that's where it gets sketchy for me.
To item 13.1. Okay, Suzanne, a couple more questions to you, then I want to get to Chris. So the LR, the likelihood ratio, what is that? What's the significance of that?
That is the way that we do statistics currently. And it is basically a comparison of two mutually exclusive hypotheses. So one hypothesis would be what we call the prosecutor's hypothesis, which typically is that the person's included in the mixture. And that is compared to the defense hypothesis, which typically is that person is not in the mixture. And the likelihood ratio tells you which of those hypotheses is more likely. So in this case, when we have what they're calling an inconclusive range, they're saying, I can't tell you whether this person is included or excluded. However, I think one of the issues that the defense has with this is that there are recommendations, sort of the scientific working group on DNA analysis methods, they've come up with a number of recommendations. And basically they say no matter what the likelihood ratio is, whether it's a small number in support or a small number supporting exclusion, you should still report that number. Instead, this laboratory apparently has a pretty wide range of inconclusive.
So make this make sense to me. Now they're saying that the suspect, the accused, has disclosed that through further independent lab testing, he is eliminated as a contributor. How could a different test now have seemingly a different result that actually eliminates his as a contributor? Is this just an interpretation of results, or is there different testing that could have been done? How could that be?
I think that probably the independent lab retested the sample and perhaps they were able to get a little bit more DNA from the sample. Perhaps their guidelines allow for them to eliminate a person at a certain less than 1 likelihood ratio versus this lab. So this independent lab may have done some additional testing, concentrated the sample, done something to be able to get a little bit better of a result where they can say he's excluded instead of the Idaho laboratory, which they're saying inconclusive, but reading the motion, it probably should properly be said as support for exclusion. They probably were in a less than 1 likelihood ratio level, which is actually support for exclusion.
Chris McDonough, let me ask you. So what does
I'm just going to say right out of the gate that to me, even if they don't allow this in, or even if they said that his DNA was eliminated, let's just say that's what happens at trial. Let's just say they say that there was the 3 DNA profiles under Maddie's fingernails, but it was all inconclusive. We don't know whose they are. But we don't think that they're Bryan Kohberger's. Okay, fine. But his DNA is still on that knife sheath that was found either under or next to Maddie's body. Okay? His car was there. His pings put him... There is nothing about that would seal the deal for me to say that he's innocent. Period. Just saying. Just saying.
does this DNA prove?
You know, Vinny, obviously DNA evidence would put somebody at a crime scene. However, when there is an analysis like this that comes back, inconclusive, it means the results aren't necessarily clear cut. So from an investigative side,
I'm not even going to lie, you guys. I know that a lot of you are like, ooh, no, never, never, never. And we've talked about this before. I'm not going to be ashamed and say that I don't like to see crime scene photos because I'm the weird one that does. I appreciate when they're able to be seen. And even though it would probably haunt me for the rest of my life, I would really appreciate being able to see the inside of that house to get the full grasp of what happened. You know what I mean? Of course, now the house has been torn down, demolished, but, hopefully they took lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of photos and videos. Laura, as far as why, she says, what about the other victim's fingernails? Curious as to why only one. I don't know unless they've already swabbed them and nothing came back. Like, wonky, I mean, probably I would say that both Ethan and Xana probably had each other's DNA around or under their nails. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, right? And then it wouldn't be uncommon for them to have had any of the other girls' DNA on them because they all lived together. Oh my goodness. I wish dogs could speak. I wish dogs could speak. You know what? That poor dog probably seen and heard a lot that night. Henny said he might have had a kill kit. I mean, he's very methodical. Where's that dog psychic? I don't know. From Animal Planet. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the name though. Chrissy says, I'm the weird one that would like to see the crime scene of the house. I'm not saying I like to see photos of the bodies. I can look at some of that, but I trust the ME here. Yeah, I do too. I do too. But I do. I'm the weird one that likes to, see all the things. I want to see everything the jury can see, Yeah, are you talking about Caesar Milan? Is he? He's not a dog psychic, though, is he? He's what they call the dog whisperer. Something like that. I don't know. But, yeah. The dog whisperer. Huh? Miss King agrees. She's the same way. Yeah. I know.
That could be from a couple of reasons. I mean, like a sample was too small, maybe it was, degraded, maybe it was mixed up with other DNA, like in this case. So you couldn't get a solid match. So basically, it's a shrug of the shoulders from the lab. And so as an investigator, you have to take that and say, okay, well, then we have to put that over here in the exclusionary column until we get some additional definitive evidence. And that's what they did by revealing it to the defense.
So, Susanna, the next question is, okay, if let's say he's excluded, or however we want to term it, right? It's it's interesting to hear it explained, because a jury's going to have to understand this. Is there a way to take those the two samples that aren't her, and to determine any information about the source of it, whether it's gender, race, or identity?
You may be able to tell gender. So there are a couple of different markers that we look at that are indicative of males. So they're specific to the male. So we know, obviously we have Maddie, a female. If any of those other markers that are specific to a male pop up.
They're such beautiful young people. It's just devastating.
Then they could say there's at least one male.
I mean, look how beautiful. Best friends. I mean, they grew up together and just
present. But that would be about it. We don't use the DNA that we do in the forensic lab to do any sort of, ethnicity or racial background or, hair or eye color, any of that. That's all completely separate. So that would be the farthest we could go, is possibly saying that there's a male present.
House of Horrors. Man.
And is there any other way to put it in a pool of potential people? Like, if you've got a sample like this, would you get enough information where you could run that information through CODIS, and you may not get like one hit, but you might get thousands of hits? Does it work like that, or it doesn't really work like that?
So the samples that are eligible for upload to CODIS they cannot be too much of a mixture, because we don't want to have thousands of possible hits to go through. And again, kind of reading between the lines here, it sounds to me that the data is really low level and probably not eligible for CODIS. It's good for comparison to other potential persons of interest, but not for entry into CODIS.
All right, Susanna Ryan, I'm so glad that you're able to come on this program and help us explain this and help us understand this. Chris McDonough is going to stick around. Thanks so much, Susanna. Coming up next, so what does this DNA mean for the trial?
Probably.
I think you can have DNA on an arm.
So this was one of the last motions that they had. And the blonde there speaking in the middle, if you're not familiar, is Ann Taylor. She is Bryan Kohberger's attorney. And
object at a scene when you know about all of these other things and you don't find probable cause, because there are more questions than there are answers, and all of a sudden this one thing doesn't look as big.
Oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, we don't need you, J.G. Wentworth. I accidentally clicked the stupid ad thing. Hold on a minute. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Share. Now, sadly, I'm going to have to play it because I can't skip it because this is on their website. So I'm going to play it. But I'm going to take it off the screen for just a minute. So hold on a minute. Let me hit the play button, mute it, and let it go through its little thingamajigger, and then I'll put it back up in just a moment. It's just me and you and the black screen. Okay, it's got about 15 seconds left, and then I can put it back up. Hold on. Hold on a minute. J.G. Wentworth, 877, cash now. Okay. All right, now I can share it again. Technical difficulties. Yes, for sure. All righty then. Now, can you guys see it? Let me make sure you guys can see it. Yes, okay, you can. Yeah. Okay, let me turn the volume back up.
Grieving widow or mastermind behind a murder.
Monica Cimentelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Famed celebrity hairstylist Bobby.
Celebrity stylist murder. As to Mr. Kohberger, now, there may be, as you say, other people that create concern or issues about that need to be investigated further. But I'm not sure that that diminishes the probable causes to Mr. Kohberger if his DNA is found on a knife she found on or near the victim. Who?
See, that's what sort of negates everything else for me, what he just said. Because, see, she also brought up the fact in this motion hearing that there was also, like, other source DNA on the handrail, I think, in the house. And somewhere outside, I think. I can't remember. And then something about a glove. And, you know, she keeps talking about how, oh, well, you know, let's look at all of that stuff so we don't look at the knife sheath over here with Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. But all I can see is the knife sheath with his DNA on it. I could care less about the rest of it. I mean, his DNA is on the holder for the actual murder weapon. Right?
Was stabbed with said alleged knife that would have been in said alleged sheath.
And she's like,
I think the most prominent question is, how did that sheath get there? And I think when you ask that question, I think you can have DNA on an object at a scene when you know about all of these other things and you don't find probable cause.
Nice try,
because there
Ann.
are more questions than there are answers, and all of a sudden this one thing doesn't look as big.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't look as everything pointing to it when you have the context around it.
no, you don't. No, not for me. Not for the judge either. And can I say Bryan Kohberger looks extremely skinny here.
The magistrate didn't have to have every detail of the case, but knowing how many attempts to find a DNA connection there were, and it didn't exist, in Bryan's car, in Bryan's apartment, that there's no other DNA in there?
We know DNA is a huge part of this case. It's the foundation of the prosecution case, the DNA that's found on the knife sheath. But it's not the only DNA. We've talked about this in the past. There's DNA on a railing inside the home of an unknown male. There's DNA of an unknown male on a glove that was found on the property outside. And now we're talking about Maddie's fingernail clippings. And you've got a mixture of the DNA from 3 sources, one of which is likely Maddie, but then you've got 2 other sources of DNA in all of this. So the defense filed these motions to limit what the prosecution can say, but when you read it, you kind of take something else away from it. The suspect's inconclusive likelihood ratio is similar to almost every other person for whom a likely ratio was generated, and focusing on his inconclusive LR would mislead the jury. That implies that the LR means that the suspect's DNA might be present in the sample. When the suspect sought to overturn the grand jury indictment, he argued that Miller's testimony was inadmissible and misleading. The state argued that the testimony, this is interesting, the testimony was presented to the grand jury as exculpatory and an effort to elicit favorable evidence for the suspect. The independent lab testing conducted by the defense related to this item is indeed exculpatory. The suspect is excluded, and the state should be precluded from misleading the jury in any way.
Nah, I'm not buying that. They said it was inconclusive. That is not saying that Mr. Kohberger's DNA is not there. They're saying they don't know if it's his or anybody else's. I'm not buying that whole.
So it's semantics about how they describe this DNA, but it seems clear that the defense has their lab looking at it and clearly excluding the suspect. So the DNA is from 2 other unknown sources. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. What does this DNA mean for the trial? The trial's coming up this year.
Yes.
Joining me, criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer, is with us. Josh,
his glasses crack me up.
Every case, every trial is a battle.
Look at his face.
It's a fight.
I'm so sorry. I can't with this man's face. He's always like, and then red, teeny tiny red glasses. I don't even see, like his eyes ain't even in the center of them. I can't with him. He kills me.
Right. Things that seem small at one moment become very large inside the courtroom. What are your thoughts about the fingernails of one of the victims, Maddie? 2 unknown sources of DNA.
Well, I think it's pretty clear.
Oh, yeah.
This is confusing. You're confused. I'm confused.
It's pretty clear we're all confused.
I think that it's pretty clear that there's confusion in front of the court about how these test results are admissible or they're supposed to be interpreted. And we haven't even heard from the defense's experts, who I'm willing to bet have impeccable credentials, and are going to come in and talk about other problems with these already inconclusive results. And the issue at trial becomes, well, are we going to let the jury know this exists, or does this just remain silent? Because the jury theoretically doesn't know anything. And that jury walks in not considering, unless they're using their outside knowledge from before the trial and just their regular life, that they might test under the fingernails for DNA. Otherwise, this might not even get mentioned. It might just be wrapped up in the rest of the state's case. So the defense is really pushing hard, and for the right reasons, to limit and exclude this as much as possible, because the mere existence of these testing results tends to confuse the jury. And I think that's very clear. Doesn't mean the judge is going to exclude it, though, because this is powerful physical evidence backed up by science.
Also joining us, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Nima, should prosecutors presented this to the grand jury because they have an obligation to present potentially exculpatory evidence?
He's still sitting there smiling like a crazy person. He kills me.
Evidence. That's one place in one scenario. In front of a jury, is the defense going to jump on this? Should the prosecution be concerned that there's unknown DNA in the fingernails of one of the victims, which, according to the defense, excludes the defendant? And I think prosecutors might likely agree with that because they're the ones conceding that it's potentially exculpatory.
Many prosecutors shouldn't be concerned because there's so much other evidence in the case, but absolutely, you have to front this potentially bad evidence in the case. Look, it's a party house. There's going to be people coming and going. There's no evidence necessarily that the victim scratched or clawed the murderer, whether it's Bryan Kohberger or whoever is alleged to be the killer. So if you're the state, you want to get out ahead of all this other type of DNA, whether it's on the railing, whether it's blood, and you want to say, listen, Kohberger's DNA is on the knife sheath that we believe is the murder weapon. Unless it was transferred or planted, he was there. So the defense can make, kick and scream and talk about all the other DNA that was found, but ultimately, with all the other evidence in the case, this is just one piece that's going to put Bryan Kohberger away for life, or maybe even put him to death.
Josh Schiffer, we've watched and covered so many cases here on Court TV through the years, and when the defendant's DNA is in the fingernails of the victim, prosecutors jump up and down. Do you think the defense is going to jump up and down as Nima described here? I think they will, because again, they have some tough facts to overcome in this case, but they've got to latch on to something.
Yeah, if this evidence was standing by itself, then it would certainly be inappropriate because of its lack of consistency and the confirmation. It would be subject to the battle of the experts, and I don't think it would be admissible because how much we know juries are swayed by this kind of evidence. But taken with all of the other totality of the circumstances, this is just one piece of evidence.
So let's just say you were on the jury, okay? I just want to know, just for nosiness sake. Let's say you were on the jury. You find out, okay, as a juror, that the defendant's DNA is found on the knife sheath, which is found near or under one of the victim's bodies. And we know that it was a knife that was used on these 4 victims, okay? And then you find out that you have fingernail clippings of one of the victims, and there's DNA evidence under there that's for 2 to 3 people, but it's inconclusive. They don't know whether it's Bryan's or whoever else's. We have no idea. Is that going to sway you one way or the other from the fact that you know that his DNA is on the knife sheath? Laura says the DNA on the knife sheath seals his guilt for me. Same. Same. Yep. Same for me. Henny says I'm with Laura.
That lends credence that he is one of the people that could have been there according to this DNA testing. That's in addition to the sheath. That's in addition to this being a party house. So the DNA is not the, terrible word, it's a smoking gun for the prosecution in this case. It's just one of the bricks they need. So the defense is going to fight this specific piece of evidence. Whether it's exculpatory, sure. I'll give it to the state that they used it in a way that is kind of sneaky in order to get it admitted in front of the grand jury. But we all know exactly what they're doing. They're putting Bryan Kohberger on the scene under her fingernails. That is a tone of habitat that is going to strike every juror.
All right, you guys are going to stick around. Got more questions for you, a lot more to cover. Up next, how reliable is Dylan Mortenson's memory, one of the surviving roommates?
Yeah, I don't know about all that business. I don't know about all that business, you guys. How credible is she? I do not know. I do not know. Let me, yeah, we're going to have another break. But I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Hold on, let me copy and paste this into the chat. Watch the rest of Vinny's. All right, I've got the link in the chat there for where we were just watching on the Court TV website. So save that link if you want to watch the rest of it. We got through about half of it. So anyway, I think the rest of it, they're going to be talking about Dylan Mortensen, which is one of the living, surviving victims. Yeah, Miss King, I don't either. I don't know. I feel like it had a lot to do with the fact that she may have been using something and didn't want to get in trouble. And maybe there was stuff that they needed to clean up and take care of before cops were called. I have no idea. I don't know. That's all just me speculating on top of that. So I don't know. I have no idea. I don't believe that somebody can be in shock for that long, though. You know? But then again, I don't know. So, but I do want to hear. I can't wait for her testimony whenever. When is this trial again? You guys, who remembers? I can't remember. Is it supposed to be like in the summer? I can't remember. I'll wait to see if somebody says it in the chat. Do you remember? Summer, I think. Let me see. I hope they're ready by then and they don't push it back out. Goodness gracious. Let me go look. Set the new start date for August 11th with jury selection beginning July 31st. Trial is expected to run through November 7th. Sounds exhausting. Like, that's going to be a 3-month-long trial, you guys. Holy cow. Good Lord. Daylight savings is this weekend. I always forget. I hope so, Miss King, because I want it to, these families have been waiting long enough. For real, for real. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that. And we're going to move on to the next topic, which, hold your horses. I have to find it. Oh, hold on. I gotta go find it. Hold on a minute. I thought I had everything saved in a file, but I can't find this. Hold on. Do you remember? Oh, here we go. And no one better to bring this. Oh, could you guys hear that? Could you guys hear that? Oh my God. Hold on, let me go. La 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 la. Let me move this tab over here. Let me share it. Whenever I saw this, I think I saw it yesterday. When I saw this, my jaw dropped. I was like, there is no way. There is absolutely no way. You guys, this woman is a fool. Fool. Have you guys heard this yet? Watch. Let me make sure that it's on. Okay, I think it's working. Watch, you guys. Here we go.
Breaking news tonight. The return of Tot Mom. It feels like a dirt sandwich in my mouth. The return of Tot Mom. TikTok stardom ahead as Casey Anthony haters beg, please go away. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you
I
for
love
being with
Nancy
us.
so much.
I called a little bit ago. The deputy sheriff saying I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today.
Ooh, hey, Pickled Bird, and who did? Nancy Grace or Casey Anthony? Nancy is epic. I know a lot of people hate her. I love her. She's not always right. I'm not with her on some things, but man, she has got Casey Anthony's number. She's like, I feel like I'm eating a dirt sandwich. Oh, lovely, Pickled Bird. Lovely. Lovely.
It smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Kaylee.
That brings it back home to the discovery, and I went and looked at the spot where Kelly Anthony's body was bagged in trash bags from Tot Mom Casey Anthony's home and thrown in a swampy area covered.
This right here is the story that threw me into the throes of true crime, right? Pickled Bird said we tried to get her up to chat, but she wouldn't do it. Well, are you sure it was her or someone pretending to be her? I can't imagine that she wouldn't take any opportunity to say a word or two. But anyway, yeah. So I'll scooch on through this and, kind of get to the part where, oh, here we go. This is it right here. Watch this.
I am a legal advocate.
And now, this.
I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter.
Okay, Well, I need to see that again. That's from Casey Anthony's official TikTok account at @CaseyAnthony_Substack. P.S. If you don't know what Substack means, it means money to her in her pocket. I'll explain, but I've got to see this again.
I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011. And in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself and also advocate for my daughter.
Okay, that's from Top Mom Casey Anthony's TikTok account at @CaseyAnthony_Substack. Whoa. Legal advocate?
How you going to be a legal advocate when everybody on this God's green earth thinks and knows that you did what you did? Why weren't you advocating for her then, Casey? You know what I mean? When she was in the trunk of your car, stinking to high heaven. This case makes me so angry. Oh.
No, you're not. You were tried for the murder of your little girl. Legal advocate, my rear end.
Thank you.
And whoa, did I hear her say she's been involved? Let me look at this. In the legal system since 2011. You mean when you were tried for murder?
Right.
Joining me, an all-star panel. But I just want to remind everybody what this is really about. No one would even know her name if it weren't for this.
There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Kaylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Kaylee Anthony?
Yes.
Okay, is she white, black, or Hispanic?
Oh, God, I just had a wave of wash over me. Man, it brought back so many memories just then. Hearing that and seeing those photos. Oh, my God.
Hispanic.
She's white.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
What is her date of birth?
8/9/2000. Oh God, she's 3. She's 2005. George Carey's missing.
That is Cindy Anthony, Kelly's grandmother, calling, reporting her missing. Not Tot Mom, her own mother. Advocate for my daughter? Advocate for my daughter? Who called 911? Not you. Listen.
Casey says Danny took her a month ago. She's been missing for a month.
Okay, I understand. Can you calm down for me for just a minute? And I need to know what's going on, okay? I'm going to try and talk.
Advocate for my daughter. Joining me, Joe Scott Morgan.
Oh, she's disgusted. Nancy Grace is disgusted. I wish that Casey Anthony was in the room with her at this very moment, because Nancy Grace, she wouldn't even have to lay a finger on Casey. She would tear her to shreds with her tongue. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Mary Lou, good to see you, honey. How are you doing?
Morgan, renowned death investigator, professor at Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Reality check.
And how is she advocating? What is she doing to advocate for her and her daughter? What? Doing TikTok videos to get money? Is that what she's doing? Clearly.
Finding out that Tot Mom is offering a Substack. In other words, you go listen to her and she gets money. By the way, Joe Scott, already, just her announcement has racked up over 3 million views. She gets paid for that if there are ads in there. All of that money is going into her pocket.
She shouldn't be allowed to make a dime.
No one would even know her name if she had not been charged with murdering her daughter. Tell me what happened to Kelly.
I can tell you what the end result was.
All of the people that come up on her panel are always like, ooh, like she's terrifying, right? Like, poor Joe Scott Morgan, he's like, I can tell you what the end result was. Steph, my mom and I used to take drink every time she said top mom, right, Ween baby? Ugh. Who is using her as a legal advocate? You tell me. I mean, I would assume other young moms who want to do to their children what she did to hers and got away with it. That's what I'm assuming. I mean, there's a lot of moms out there that I'm sure that are sitting behind bars that we've even watched on trial that probably was like, daggone, where was Casey when I needed her? You know? Tell me how to get away with it. Evil, vile. She works as a paralegal for her former attorney, apparently. Yeah, she also lived with Jose Baez afterwards, didn't she? Steph said, I still remember crying on the way home from work the day she was found not guilty. Yeah. I know exactly where I was at, what I was doing when I got the news about that. Husband and I were driving home, and we were in Bumfreak, PA. The only station we could get in on the radio was that super religious guy. OMG, I can't think of his name. I don't know. Yeah, her lawyers had to take care of her. Right. Rush Limbaugh? Aw. Oh, goodness.
All we have left now are skeletal remains, period. As a matter of fact, her body, Nancy, was so badly decayed after they recovered it from that brushy area out there in that swamp-like environment that they could not even come to a conclusion about what her specific cause of death. It's non-specified homicidal means, and it's absolute.
Joe Scott, excuse me,
Yeah.
wasn't duct tape wrapped around the baby's mouth and nose with a heart sticker stuck on it. That gives me
a heart sticker. Oh, cold chills just went down my back. Oh my God.
Good idea as to how she died. You think you could survive with duct tape wrapped around your nose and mouth?
I'll go one better than that, Nancy. It wasn't around her nose and mouth. It was around her skull.
Yeah, it was
just
all
let
the way
that
around
sink
her
in
head.
just for a second. That's what was done to this child. She's cast off like garbage, Nancy. And then, insult to injury here. We're talking a month down range before anyone says peep about her.
Do you guys remember during the trial whenever they did that like computerized image based on her skeletal remains where the duct tape would have been if she had been alive, if she would have if she hadn't decomposed, if she were alive, where that would have been based on where her skeletal remains were. And you could see how it, oh my God. Yeah, it did take a long time to find her. And literally, not even a mile up the road from their house or something. I mean, very close to their house.
Her missing. And all the while, she's been out there just in a state of decay, Nancy. And as you know, Florida is a very harsh environment. There was hardly anything left that scientifically we could really hang our hats on to try to understand what had actually happened to her.
Just saying that, Joe Scott Morgan, and think about it. Every day, Tot Mom, Casey Anthony, would pass that spot. As I said, it's about 10 houses down from the Anthony home, and you come out of their cul-de-sac, and if you turn right, well, you have to pass it. Do you know, Jessica, I don't think I've ever told you this. I have never been back to where my fiance was murdered. Never.
Yeah.
I don't think I could stand to look at it and know that's where he was murdered. But she passed this every day and never said a word day by day. Think about it, Joe Scott. As each hour passes, what happened to Kelly's body? When did flies show up and lay eggs? When did her flesh start slipping off of her body? I know it's harsh, Joe Scott, but this is the reality.
Yeah, you're right. And in that environment, it's so harsh down there, Nancy. And to think that this person could have moved back and forth across this, and court said that she didn't know, or at least they didn't find her guilty of it. But come on, give me a break. You're driving by this every single day, and that precious little angel is out there in a state of decay. I can't even begin to plumb the depths of how evil.
What happens first, Joe Scott? What happens first when her body is in that bag? What happens in the first 5 hours of her body being in that bag?
Yeah, just within the first 5 hours, particularly in Florida, you're going to have the presence of flies being attracted to this area. And people say, well, she's in a bag. No. Flies always find a way. They get in, and then they begin, or they kind of aid in this process of decomposition. And it's sped up very, very quickly in that environment, Nancy. And having worked in Louisiana, that's very similar to this, I've actually.
Lord have mercy. I'm going to bounce around a little bit.
She's saying people close to me have been targeted and attacked. Really? What about Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez? That's a real person that was attacked and wrongly named by her. That's a real person. That's a woman wandering around, minding her own business. They got dragged into Top Mom Casey Anthony's vortex. Listen, she even spells the name, for Pete's sake.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Oh, hold on. I have to take a phone call. I'll keep it playing.
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Who is that? Babysitter?
She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah, why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid.
Okay. Can you give me the name of the nanny again? Like, spell it out for me?
Zenaida, Zenaida.
Last name?
Fernandez. Hyphen Gonzalez.
Man, what a liar. She even knows how to put the hyphen Gonzalez. There's actually a real person out there named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. And isn't it true? Tashana Butler joining me right now, investigative reporter, WFTV, Channel 9, Florida, this jurisdiction, that when the apartment where Tot Mom says she dropped off baby Kelly was found by police, it had been vacant for 140 days. 140 days. No one had lived there. Then when she took police to where she worked, to Universal Studios, she got all the way in the car with cops, all the way to the security gate, all the way through the security gate to.
Yeah, she gets all the way to the actual hallway of where the offices are located, and she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I don't work here." And they're like, "Okay, then why did you bring us here?"
To the building, out of the car, walking in the building to find her boss, and she says, "Okay, you got me. I haven't worked here in 3 years." All the time, wearing her Universal uniform with her tag, her parents thinking she worked while she sat on the sofa and ate chips while they paid for Kelly. Isn't all of that true?
That is all true. I remember back then. I mean, I did nothing but this story for 3 years.
Comfort, support, and shock absorption. And they help you move longer, stand straight.
An integral part of the family. And it's not unusual for grandparents to look after.
I want you to see on Twitter what populated last night. And I couldn't.
Oh. Yeah, I was wanting to look for this. Look at some of these tweets.
Agree with you more. Chris says, Nancy, Casey Anthony's on TikTok claiming to be a legal advocate. Justice for Peyton. When she said she was advocating for her daughter, I felt physically ill. Seeing her follower count up to over 40,000 is nauseated. What the F is wrong with these people? Camping life, with all the lies she told about her daughter, who would believe a word she says? Sandy Cole, I couldn't stomach sending you the video, but guess who's made a social media appearance and claiming to be a legal advocate? I hope you're sitting down. Yulela says, where is Nancy Grace? Why is Casey Anthony on TikTok trying to make a platform for herself? Go yell at her. Don't worry. I will. Lauren Conlon, I'm going to. I can't wait to hear you break down her filthy lies. Okay, let me go to my colleague, Joe Scott Morgan, just for another reality check, Joe Scott. While we are watching Tot Mom Casey Anthony's return to stardom and TikTok fame, I never actually thought those words would come out of my mouth, but they are. This isn't her first stab at making money off her dead daughter. Again, how was Kelly's body found?
Okay, I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna keep just kind of skipping through. Right, Ween Baby. People aren't following her because they like her. They're following to make it a poop show. But the thing is, like Nancy said, she's right. You know, the more followers she has, the more money she makes on ad revenue. So don't follow her. Welcome back, Margaret.
Miraculously happen. You know, you can take a deceased person and put them in the car, and you're not going to have a whiff of decomposition. It takes time for that to produce.
Self in the shoes of the victim, and I just did that thinking about my own children at that tender age. I had them with me while I covered the Tot Mom Casey Anthony trial and investigated it.
It was true. We don't know whether or not it was true. We
Ooh,
weren't
hey,
there behind
you
closed
better watch
doors.
out, Troy Slayton, because there is something called oral slander, defamation. It'll be a cold day in HELL that I stand by and let somebody claim George molested anybody.
You're calling Casey Anthony
Tell
a
me it
murderer.
may be
He was
true.
found not guilty.
Oh, hold on. Hold the phone. Hold on. I got to rewind this. This guy, I don't know who this guy is, but I think he stepped in a hornet's nest.
In jail.
What about
I'm
that,
watching
Defense
this with
Attorney
you guys.
Troy Slayton joining us out of LA? You gave me this big song and dance about the baby. But what about dragging your own father through the mud? He got up and testified and subjected himself to cross-examination on all of her lies about him molesting little Kelly. She didn't. She sat there silent and watched her parents be destroyed on the stand. So it's okay with you that she drags them through the mud as well? Suddenly, when she's on trial for murder, she remembers that her dad molested her. Oh, yes, she said her brother molested her too. That she was molested, and so was Kelly. And the whole reason her father, a former cop, murdered Kelly is because he was covering up molestation on a 2-year-old little girl. Is that okay with you that she drags down everybody around her and now she wants my money?
Do we only respect a jury verdict when the verdict comes out the way we want? I mean,
I'm
we have the
asking
best
you
criminal
about
justice system
George.
in
I'm
the
asking you
nation.
about George. You've already gotten on your soapbox about a verdict that the
know.
jurors say they regret
I know,
what that's
Nancy,
worth. I'm
that-
asking you about George, dragging
know
him through the mud.
Dragging him through the mud. This is the jury believed what she said. Obviously, the jury found that there was insufficient evidence.
That's
And-
not what they said.
Well,
They said they didn't understand cause of death. I'm asking you about her changing story and then dragging George through the mud.
This wasn't where 6 people thought one thing and 6 people thought another thing, or 11
You're not going to
people
address
thought-
what she did to her father.
Maybe it was true. We don't know whether or not it was true. We
Ooh,
weren't
hey,
there behind
you
closed
better watch
doors.
out, Troy Slayton, because there is something called oral slander, defamation. It'll be a cold day in H-double-L that I stand by and let somebody claim George molested anybody.
You're calling Casey Anthony
Tell
a
me it
murderer.
may be
She was
true.
found not guilty. She has been exonerated by our criminal justice system, and everybody here is branding her a murderer.
And now she's making money off her daughter's dead body and is threatening to drag George and Cindy to hell and back again. Listen, can't you hear her, for Pete's sake?
For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony. My parents are George and Cindy Anthony. This is not about them. This is not in response to anything that they have said or done. That's not to say that I'm not going to respond at some point to some of the things that they have said and done.
TikTok at Casey Anthony _Substack.
Lord have mercy. Lord, Lord, Lord. Lord, Lord. I can't. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm going to copy and paste this and let you guys follow up if you want to watch the rest of it on Nancy Grace's channel. Oh my God. Here's the link. Right, Cherie? And that's exactly what she did. When someone changes their story 5,000 times, you know that person has done something wrong. Yeah, I know it. All right. So, I think I've got, what was there, couple other things I was going to chat with you guys about real quick. Have you all heard or seen, I've got the Dateline thing here. Let me, let me go look it up real quick. That one would probably be pretty good. Hold on a minute. Hold on a second, friends. I think I'll share this one.
Gotcha.
Hold on just a second. Let me move it over here so I can see what you are seeing. Have you guys seen that Lori Vallow Daybell sits down with Keith Morrison with Dateline, and it comes out tomorrow? I think it's like a 2-hour-long interview, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a recent interview, like very recent. She's in jail and sitting in handcuffs. You want to see her cray? Here's a little bit of a preview that we are going to get, you guys. little bit of a preview. Take a look at this.
How long have you guys lived here?
I'm sorry?
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors took us there.
Gotcha.
Like, hi, neighbor, sorry.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the case against cult mom, Lori Vallow Daybell. Guess what? She has sat down with NBC Dateline's Keith Morrison for her first one-on-one interview. Lori speaking out about her innocence while currently standing trial for her ex-husband's murder. Here's a
Yeah, here's the preview. So she's currently set for trial for the murder of Charles, her first husband, or maybe it was her second or third, I don't know. But anyway, she's in Arizona, and if you didn't already know, she is going to be pro se. She is defending herself in this trial. I can't with that. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But anyway, you guys, if you have not seen this little sneaky peeky, I cannot wait for tomorrow night. Oh my God, I can't wait.
preview.
Watch.
How could you possibly think that Chad would be exonerated after what happened?
The same way I will be exonerated. We will both be exonerated in the future.
Because?
I have seen things in the future that Jesus showed me when I was in heaven. And we were not in jail. And we were not in prison. And they were...
You know that Keith is like, what kind of drugs are you taking? You have put too much Kool-Aid powder on your lips, ma'am, and the red dye is eating your brain. No. The red dye from your commissary cherry Kool-Aid powder is eating your brain, ma'am. Ween Baby says, wow, I did not expect that. I mean, just listen.
Still in the future.
Here, let me rewind it just a bit more. Let me rewind it and listen to this again. Look at the anger, on her face, man, when she's sitting there.
Ex-husband's murder. Here's a preview.
How could you possibly think that Chad would be exonerated after what happened?
The same way I will be exonerated. We will both be exonerated in the future.
Because?
I have seen things in the future that Jesus showed me when I was in heaven. And we were not in jail. And we were not in prison. And they were still in the future.
Oh, my. So will this interview tip the scales of justice ahead of her trial? Remember, she's got a trial date of March 31st. And that is when they're going to start picking that jury. And remember, she's representing herself in that case. Let's bring in our guest analyst, South Carolina solicitor Kevin Brackett, on the program this morning. Oh, Kevin.
What was the date again? Did they say March 31st?
Herself in that case. Let's bring in our guest. Oh, my. So will this interview tip the scales of justice ahead of her trial? Remember, she's got a trial date of March 31st. And that is when they're going to start picking that jury.
Yep. So they'll be picking the jury starting March 31st. Woohoo! We're going to have fun later this month. Fun later this month. Who's here for it? Put a 1 if you're here for the Lori Value Fun Dip. Did I see? Laura said that is some good fun dip. Oh my God. Miss King, I have no idea. I have no idea. I know it's not Colby. Chad ain't got no money. Unless he had some hid that his kids has got now. I don't know. No idea. No idea. Y'all are here for it, huh? I'm here for it too. That's going to be a lot of fun. And thank goodness, not that I don't want to say thank goodness because it's about Right. She's probably got a whole cult following, to be honest, Ween Baby. I don't want to, like, minimize the fact that Charles Vallow died, you know, but what I'm getting at is that, with her trial for the murder of the kids and Tammy, and then Chad's trial, that was tough, because of the kids and what they did to the kids. And now if you didn't know already, she's blaming what happened on Tylee, saying Tylee did it. And she's just a lot. She's a lot. And I love Keith Morrison. I love him. There was another... Where did it go? Let me go find it real quick, because there was another video that I saw of that. Where were you? Where were you? Here, let's try this one. This is a little bit of a preview. Let me see. This is like a 50-second preview. Sits down. Lori Vallow Daybell sits down with Keith Morrison for her first television interview. Dateline NBC. Let me put a little bit of music on, because I'm not so sure that they won't try to hit me on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Let me put a little bit of background music on. How about Feeding the Ducks, Ween Baby? I'll turn it down. Okay. And I'll hit the play button.
Sit down. We're ready? Are you keeping track, Keith? Can we agree on that, Keith? Can I joke with you, Keith? Can we joke? Good one, Keith. You've heard a lot of stuff, Keith, and I'm here to say you've heard a lot of stuff, but what I tell you will be the truth. I thought we were going to be friends, Keith. I thought we were going to be friends. Get your facts straight, Keith. Aren't appearances not what they might seem to be, Keith? Could you get your life story out in 90 minutes, Keith? How old are you, Keith? Keith, we can talk all day. I can talk all day. I don't have anything.
Holy cow. She's nutso. Can we take a shot or a drink every time she says the name Keith? Can we? Because, whew. Wow.
To do, you could extend your time. Come back. Come see me.
Friday, Dateline 9/8 Central. You guys, what a cuckoo clock. God. Kool-Aid lips. I know. That's what I said, Margaret. Earlier I said something about she's used too much Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid, that she, it seeped into her brain. You guys, I can't with this one. She's something. Can we have a cuckoo clock emote, please? Right? I like the music too. I like the Feeding the Ducks song. See if I can get my mom bun to dance. Right? All right. Well, that's what I have for you for today. That's all I had on my little list of updates. I told you it was a lot. I told you it was busy. There was so much stuff that came out. And I could have kept right on watching the rest of what he had to say about Dylan Mortensen, and more about what Nancy obviously had to say about Casey Anthony, because I'm here for anything Nancy has to say about Casey Anthony. I'm here for it. But I'm also going to be here for this Dateline interview tomorrow at 8 Central. How many of y'all are going to watch it? Are you going to watch it? Tell me if you're going to watch it. I might have to take notes and then come back and chat about it. I have to chat about it. About all the things that she says and all of her lies. If you remember, set up. Yes, Steph. Lori's going pro se. Yes, ma'am. Is she bringing her portal potty to consult? Probably. I mean, you should be awake, Margaret. It'd be 6 p.m. for you. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. You'll be awake. Right? You just be getting home from work. Maybe she's bringing the storm. Oh, is it 9 across the board? The portal potty emojis. I know, right? Right. All right. Well, you guys, I'm going 9 Eastern, then I get it 3 hours later. 9 my. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right. Well, I'll be back tomorrow morning, and if you guys don't mind, I wouldn't mind taking a look at because I've been watching this that Swan Boat Club trial. Have you guys been watching that? Holy cow. And I like it because from what I've seen so far, the stations that are airing it have like already cut out like all the breaks and stuff, so they go through it really quickly. Yeah, that Swan Boat one is crazy. Jeez. You've been watching it too, Miss King. Ween Baby, that one is about this old woman who allegedly was drunk driving, but she plowed through a building where a birthday party for kids was currently going on. And there were several injured, but two littles were killed. And the two littles were siblings. Yeah. And so there's this poor mama out there who took 3 of her kids and a nephew and her mother to this birthday party for some kid that is her friend's kid. And that woman plows through that building. She says that she has neuropathy and seizures, which she does. She does it. They've got proof that she has neuropathy and seizures. But she said that she had 1 glass of wine at the boat club for lunch, and she didn't even finish the wine. But I saw some videos today. That little heifer, she's an alcoholic. But, right, Laura, right. She said that she got the all clear to drive. But when you watch the woman walk, she can't, like, okay, you get clearance for driving because you haven't had a seizure in forever, however long, right? But if your neuropathy is so bad that you can't even hardly walk, then you sure ain't got no business driving a car. If you can't feel your feet that much. Margaret, she was hammered. Did you see the videos that came out today, Margaret? I bet she wishes she didn't have that, okay, Margaret, man. I bet she wishes she didn't have security cameras in her house. I'll say that much. Her substance issue was so bad that her husband bought a house close to the bar so that she could walk home and didn't have to drive. Oh my God. I didn't know that part. Right, Laura. She says my dad has neuropathy and his meds are no joke. No drinking. Yeah. You're not supposed to. All right, you guys. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go. Husband will be home soon. And yeah, I will see you guys back in the morning. Yeah, sorry, I got a notification on my other thing, my MacBook or my iPad. So yeah, I'll see you guys back tomorrow morning, okay? Make sure to hit the thumbs up on your way out the door. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last couple hours. It's been fun. I enjoyed chit-chatting about all these different cases and topics, and Casey Anthony needs to go lay down somewhere. I've got places where I could say she should go lay down, but I'm not going to because God don't like ugly. But anyway, I will see you guys back tomorrow morning. So also subscribe if you're new, click the notification bell, and hashtag replay in the comments down below if you watch this later. Okay? I'll see you guys back tomorrow. Love you, mean it. And we'll probably do some of this swan boat trial thing. So don't y'all go watching, binging it all tonight, because we're gonna watch it tomorrow, okay? I love you. Bye.